right, welcome to AnitaLive.com. I'm your host, Bobby D. You can catch the stream on YouTube on AnitaLive.com, also on BobbyDLive.com. I'm thrilled because we have an incredible author. She's a relationship coach, she's a mediator, and she's going to be here live every Monday at 9 a.m. North American Eastern for the next 6 weeks, and she's going to help anyone who has relationship issues with self, with a loved one, and that relationship sometimes at work, right? With the boss, with coworkers that can affect productivity. So we're going to pull her in live from London, and I'm extremely excited that she went for it. Anita, I'm so proud of you, and let me unmute you, and here we go. She's live.
Hello, Bobby. Hello, everybody.
Are you excited?
Yes, I'm really pleased to be here.
You did it. You're so amazing. I mean, you really are congruent to your message, right? Because relationship is about breaking out of being uncomfortable and doing the things that, becoming comfortable by doing the uncomfortable, and you're doing it. This is new for you.
Yes.
How exciting. What do you like most about the idea of being live with people every Monday for the next 6 weeks?
That I can help them.
There we go. It's always about it's always about helping. It's always about helping. I just love you, man. It's like, man, I wouldn't expect, I love you, man. No, she's a woman. Come on.
It's okay.
All right.
You called me Rodney on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. That was fun. Anyways, we managed, and so for the viewers, just know if you're catching us somewhere on social media, because it can be in different places, that's for sure. You know, when you go to AnitaLive.com, number one, you will see an interactive chat. Now, if you're not comfortable in talking yet about your issues, don't worry, we'll warm things up over the next several weeks, but we encourage you to participate in chat and also to ask questions. And what we want to do today is just an overview of things to come with AnitaLive.com, Anita Jackson, and she wrote the book, Rekindle the Magic in Your Relationship, and that's really what she wants to do. So also, and just a little house maintenance while we're warming things up here, remember, Anita Live is a connection through AnitaJackson.co.uk, all right? There is an opt-in form for you to join us for the entire series, absolutely complimentary of Anita, but and the reason for the opt-in is if you can't make it live for some of these important sessions, we'll tell you what the sessions are all about. It'll give you an opportunity to receive the video archives if you miss one of the important sessions. So, Anita, let's get into it. Let's talk about what the topic of conversation, I guess, that we are going to engage into over 6 weeks. So, first of all, why you as a coach? Why you?
Good question. Why me, indeed? I'm sure there are plenty of good coaches out there. In this case, okay, I was married for 17 years. Some may say that's a success, 17 years. But I felt a complete and utter failure afterwards. I felt I had failed right across my forehead. I had 2 young children, and they were 3 and 5, and my husband, then husband, left for somebody else.
Wow.
And yes, and we're not supposed to be reliant on someone else for our self-worth. We're supposed to be stand alone, be able to stand alone without needing somebody else. But I felt completely apart, fell to bits, was suicidal for the first time. And my marriage was a result of both my exes and my childhoods put together. We attracted each other for whatever reason, and I believe that I started out life in the womb, like everybody else does. And nothing new. But what we do in the womb is we can hear. We can actually hear what's going on out there in the big wide world through our mother's tummy.
Yes.
And we know whether it's going to be a safe or non-safe environment. I heard that I wasn't wanted by my father, and but when I was there, it seemed like a good world. And you know, our first carers are our parents, and for some of you who don't have natural parents, you know, I may talk about parents, and you can substitute your carers, your first carers, as who your parents are. I think, have I made that clear? Some of you may be adopted or otherwise. So when I was 2, my sister was born, and my mother was very preoccupied. To cut a long story short, that's when I was sexually abused by my father, and that continued until I was 9 years of age. At 10, I decided, at 10, I told my mother again for the second time, and it got brushed under the carpet. I decided the only way to go forward in my life was to forget about it. So I buried it straight down here. Oof. And carried on life. As a teenager, I was painfully shy. I seemed to make friends really well, but boyfriends, that was like really challenging for me. And I made male friends as well as girlfriends. So it wasn't that I couldn't speak to have friends as men, but I didn't want. It was difficult when it got into the boyfriend stage, and but by the time I got to 19, I met my husband, and at 21 we were married. And I didn't want children to begin with, but by the time I got to 28, I did want children. Anyway, I had my first at 31, then at 33 I had my second. At 37, my husband left. And that was kind of pivotal. By the time I got to 40, I had completely, I'd moved out of the family home, and we sold it and divided it up as we had to, and started afresh. Then when my children were 12 and 14, they decided to live with their dad. Well, to all intents and purposes, there was nothing wrong with that. But what happened was that they refused to speak to me. They wouldn't see me. And they have, over the years, gone in and out of that. Well, that put me over the edge again, and I was suicidal yet again. It was a really hard time. I don't think I ever stopped crying, to be quite honest. And anyway, a friend of mine held the mirror up to me, so to speak, and she said, "Anita, you need help. You're driving suicidally. You're a good driver, but you're not safe to yourself or anybody on the road anymore." So I listened to her, and I got a counsellor, and never looked back, really. It's been I haven't stopped learning and growing since. I'm now 69, and I'm still learning and growing. And I have 2 grandchildren, and the thing I think I learned the most was how, and I'm still learning, I have to tell you, it still takes practice to love myself first. And about giving and forgiving completely unconditionally and receiving. Oh, wow, that was a huge one for me. And because I'm a giver, I had to rescue my mother, I had to rescue my father. It's all wrapped up in that. And as I said, I won't talk about my ex-husband because that's only in my imagination what I think happened to him. But I know some of his background, and um, um, we attracted each other because of uh, that was our life path.
So you've been able to go from all of that prenatal conditioning through these life experiences to devastation emotionally and relationship to coming out of that the way you are today. I think that qualifies you to help a lot of people. So I hope people can appreciate the openness. And that's what it's all about right here on Anita Live, isn't it? It's like we want people to be an open book if they want to. Now, maybe sometimes that won't happen in live conversation, right? Because we're live and streaming, but you'll always be able to access Anita in private as well. So, wow. Thank you for sharing that. So, woof. That's heavy. But let's have fun.
I would just like to. Can I just add one thing?
Yes.
What happened was how my parents acted towards me was how I acted in my relationships with my husband and with my children.
Makes sense.
So although it was different, I wasn't abusive in the way my father was. I was a very angry young woman, and so I was emotionally abusive. And so I had a lot of guilt that I had to deal with as well, and I'm really, really sorry for what happened.
But you were able to forgive yourself through your work, I'll bet, right? Or part of that, right? I mean, the more you give, the better you feel, right? And here you are. I want to help people. I want to give, and the giver always wins, right? So exciting that you're going to be doing this kind of work here. Do we want to cover a little bit what people can expect over 6 weeks? The topic of conversation, Anita, that you're going to dig into to help people, and hopefully the audience have not experienced the amazing life that you've had, but some of them may have had it equally or maybe worse. Who knows, right? But I think your experience and your caring is going to help them, irrespective, right, of their experience.
What I've learned is that what may have seemed enormous to me, and I was the only one that could feel like this when I was younger. What I've learned is that everybody has an experience in their life that's the worst ever, because that's all they know, and it's their life. It's hard to. Yes, it is the truth, and so I see everybody with their whatever has happened to them or not, as their experience, and it was important to them.
Right. So here's a question for you before we get into the topic, the curriculum of the next 6 weeks. Wow, how can someone go through that and come out of life? Because you and I laugh a lot when we're in private. We're going to laugh a lot here. I mean, we got to laugh. But how can a person laugh about that in retrospect and looking at it from the lesson? I mean, or some people say, well, this is not even funny. I don't even want to laugh about it. So what's your take on that? Being able to laugh about it.
I've learned so much from it. I know this sounds particularly strange, but I'm actually grateful. I couldn't be who I am today without it. That is who I am. That's what I was. That's not who I am, but it's colored. It's made me who I am.
Okay. Well, it is. Yeah, it's the energy.
And
I'm getting sorry. I just got distracted by a type chat. Someone chatting with me in Facebook, but we'll get back to that. But you know what? Who you became as part of the process. I'm so glad I'm meeting you now opposed to when you were in a relationship, like you said earlier, you were not physically abusive, but verbally abusive. Woo woo! I'm seeing the really
I could get
nice
really
Anita.
angry. I still can.
Oh, come
I'm
on. I
very
don't
assertive.
believe you. I don't believe you. And I don't want
I
you to
can.
prove it to
I
me.
can be.
Okay.
Okay.
But I've known you coming out of all that, so it's like the energy is wonderful now. And folks, as you enter into relationship counseling, coaching with Anita, if you choose to do so, you'll discover some of her real powers because I've known Anita for about I've known you a little over 10 years, but really got to know you over the last few months, and some of the conversation we've had is, wow, you're far beyond just a relationship coach. So I'll leave it at that right now. Let people discover who you really are. The caring soul that you are will shine loud and clear through these live sessions, but in private, I'm sure people are really going to benefit greatly by connecting with you. So let's get into the curriculum, shall we? And because that'll take a few minutes, and then we're going to wrap it up for the day, and we'll be back next Monday with session 1. So session 1 is going to be all about having more awareness, right? And that'll be starting June the 12th. So tell us about, what do you mean by having more awareness? How are you going to go about that? What do people need to do or be observant of to create more awareness about the relationship?
Well, the easiest way to start is to look at nature and appreciate it. Look around you. Do you know what? The first time I started to realize that I wasn't as aware as I thought I was when I walked down my local high street, and I looked up and I thought, oh, I've never seen the top of that building before. And one day I came out of one of our main stations I was only, how old was I? About in my early 20s. I came out of St Pancras station, which is a big station in London, and I had a microphone pushed in my mouth by a news person who said, what do you think about the tube strike? And so I'm standing there, and I don't know why, I turned around and looked up. St Pancras Station building is absolutely beautiful. If you like architecture, it's absolutely amazing. And I had never, ever noticed it. And I said to him, do you know what? I'm really grateful for the tube strike because I'd never have seen that building.
How incredible. Yes. Be observant. Yes. Sometimes we don't even know. We've been living in the same place, especially when we're renting, I guess, right? And we don't even notice what's on the wall behind us. If someone asks what's there, or like you said the other day, taking a walk on the beach and really, looking at nature and how many billions and billions of tiny little grains of sand, and then being in tune with our environment. So you're going to help people with that. So that's cool. And in week 2, we're going to go into session 2, right? Being who we truly are. Tell us more about that. I mean, why is that so important to be who we truly are, like you are right now?
Yes. One of the things I discovered was that I wasn't believed, or I felt not believed, because of way back when I was a child, and I told my mother and she chose not to believe me. And so I've carried that forward. And so I've always tried to be something else, someone else. Or I got angry because nobody was listening to me or heard me. And so it was more of a frustration than anything else. So, but what I learned was, eventually, if I'm true to myself, tell my truth, not everybody else's truth, then I will attract people in my life who will hear me.
Right. So stop pleasing everybody else unless it pleases you, but be true to yourself, be happy,
Of
right?
course.
And then you will
Yes.
attract, and hey, we can't please everybody, so might as well be self, and the right people will show up. Like, right. Makes
Yeah, and there's visioning involved as who do you want to be, you know?
very good. All right, week 3, we're going to be, that's a heavy duty conversation, giving and receiving. Most people want to receive, but they're not good receivers. Therefore, how can they give? But the old proverb says, give and you shall receive. But my take on it, and I want your take, we receive and simultaneously we either hoard it for ourselves, or and if we hoard for ourselves, we don't receive anymore because we turn off the giving valve. So we got to receive and give. So we give, and we receive more, and the vessel gets bigger. But why is it so difficult to receive for most people? And I know you're going to cover that, but give us some insights.
Whew. I found it much easier to give than to receive. Um, just
It's in our nature.
Yes, but there's a little story that I'd like to just tell about a lawyer who was the only one who did the work he did, and he was getting to retirement age, and he said, "Well, I'm not going to retire." And they said, "Yes, but one day, we all know when we're born, we're going to die one day. One day you won't be here. We need to know what it is you do." And he would not tell them. He hung on to his work, so it could never ever. They have to reinvent the wheel now to redo his work. It's not useful to do that, you know. Hanging on to things that you know, knowledge,
Right.
is really not useful.
Right. And just think about
And love.
exactly. And just think about the work, for example, when you work online like you are, leaving a body of work on the internet far beyond our physical presence. What a trip. Now, not everybody cares to do that, but hanging on to stuff, I mean, that could be far beyond just giving knowledge, right? Hanging on to emotions that are destructive, right? So you can help people release that, I'm sure, how to let go and then pass on the good stuff and give our nature, right?
That's perfect. Letting go.
Yeah,
Yes.
letting go. Not easy, but it's possible, isn't it? You did it. A lot of people have done it. So very, very good. Let me go to
Still doing it. This is the first for me doing these,
yeah.
and you know it was challenging for me, and I get scared, and but you know it's like, well, if I don't, I can't help more people. So
That's it. It's like it's just a different way. It's like getting on the telephone and talking to a lot of people. So it's like more effective, right? Number 4, session 4 will be about communicating effectively. The he said, she said syndrome, I guess. I don't know. Tell us about that a little bit.
well, I said a little bit about this on Saturday if everybody was there, but you know, if you point the finger at
Yeah.
someone else,
Yeah.
there's 3 pointing back at you. Um, if you want to change, we need to make the change. We need to give ourselves what we want the other one to give us. We need to say what we want to hear.
Right. Right.
It's as simple as that. Well, it's as simple as that, but there's a lot more
Well, it's
to it as
simple.
well.
It doesn't mean it's easy, right? So session 5,
No.
we're going to get into another, like they all build upon each other, as you can see and hear.
Yeah.
Feelings and emotions. So, what we feel is not always what you think you know, right? There's some underlying currents there. So tell us about what people can expect in the feelings and emotions, session 5.
Yes, it is a difficult one.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people don't want to feel their emotions, and sometimes, you know, there's a crossover between emotions and feelings. So as long as you can be real and say, I feel angry when you say that.
Right.
Angry is an emotion, but sometimes people don't know that they are. I didn't know how angry I was when I was younger. So it's like we have to and that's where the earlier one comes in, being more aware. As you become more aware, you start to notice what's going on in your body and what you're feeling and all those sort of things. And communication is key. My strapline is discovering the communication that prevents your joy. If you don't communicate effectively, and that means listening,
Beautiful.
shutting up and just listening and looking at someone in their eyes, they're looking straight on at them, really communicating. A lot of people avoid eye contact. It's really hard for people to do that.
Yes. Wow, that's loaded. We'll have to get into that some other session, but you said something key here that just woof, emotions and feelings, and there seems like there's a very profound distinction there, but we'll get back to it because we're limited on time. And wow. But men have more difficulty usually as a rule because of upbringing and conditioning about really sharing how they feel and their emotion, and because we've been conditioned that it's not very macho to cry type of thing. But we'll get back to that some other time. Now, session 6 will be about maintaining your self-worth. Woof, woof. That's heavy too, but that's practical. What are you going to share with people in that session, Anita?
It's about self-acceptance, and it's an overlap between the earlier one of being true to yourself as well, self-acceptance, just being. Frank Sinatra sang "Doobie Doobie Doo."
Right.
So do, be, do, and be.
Right.
You have to have mixture of it. You can't just do all the time.
Right. And so life is a song, isn't it? Huh? And a dance, right? With Anita
and a dance,
and
yes.
A dance. Anita, what incredible. So let's wrap it up for today on this introductory call for people to understand what you're going to help them with. And I want to reiterate to the listeners today, either you're listening live or you're in the video archive with us. You go to anitajackson.co.uk. There's an opt-in form on the left. You'll see that to join us for the entire series, absolutely free. And or you can go to Anita Live, but you know what? You may get distracted and forget about these sessions. So by opting in, 2 things happen. You'll receive a reminder when the sessions are live. You'll get notification. And if you can't make it live, by being in the opt-in form at anitajackson.co.uk, you'll receive the video archives of the sessions for the next 6 weeks. Tremendous value, as you will see. Absolutely free for you. That's, Anita did say that she loves to give. So there's a proof in the pudding. She's giving a lot of value. So to wrap it up, we got a minute and a half parting words for today, Anita, to the viewing audience live or on the video archive. What do you want to tell them?
Can I tell you a quick story?
Always. We love stories.
It's a sweet one. A friend of mine emailed this story to me many, many years ago. And a lady went out of her house one day, and in the garden were 3 old men standing with long beards. And she said, "Oh, can I help you?" And they said, "Well, we're here to help you." "Oh, well, you must be hungry. Come in." And they said, "Well, we can't all come in together." So she said, "Oh, why not?" And so they introduced themselves. One was called Success, one was called Wealth, and the other one was called Love. And so they said, "Go in the house, speak with your husband, and decide which one you want to invite into your house." So she went in and she spoke to her husband, and he said, "Oh, we have to have Wealth in the house." And she said, "Well, I don't know. I think Success would be good." Anyway, their daughter-in-law was in another room, and she overheard the conversation and said, "Well, I think Love should be in the house. Wouldn't it be lovely to fill the house full of love?" And so they decided to do that. So the lady went out into the garden and she said, I'd like to invite love into the house. So he got up and he walked towards her, and the other two got up and walked behind him. And she looked at them and she said, "Oh, I only invited love in. I thought you couldn't all come together." And they explained that when love is invited into your house, wealth and success come too.
Ooh, beautiful. And that's the whole theme there. That's the Anita with the big Anita, with the big heart, with the big love. That's the message. Beautiful story, for sure. It's a wrap for today. We'll see you guys next, let me see, on June the 12th at 9 a.m. North American Eastern. And that's, let me see, that is 2 p.m. GMT time. So join us on AnitaLive.com, but go through Anita Jackson.co.uk to opt in to receive all the sessions. And real pleasure. Anita, thank you so much for allowing me to host this series with you. Real pleasure, privilege, and I'm having a good time. Thank you so much. And we'll see you guys
Thank you.
next week. All right.
Thank you too.
You're welcome. It's a wrap. Okay.